Yo, we have a fire video for you today. That's my fire. But today we are going to be talking about how to make pre-snap reads so you'll know what your opponent is in before you even snap the ball. Now, there's a difference between pre-snap and post-snap. Today we're just going to be talking about pre-snap reads. If we can get 100 likes and about 8,000 views on this video, we'll make a post-snap read video. This is going to be part 1. We got uno más, which is one more, which is going to be part 2. It goes over 2 more additional coverages. Today we're going to talk about cover 2 and cover 3 and how you can beat those 2 individual plays. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, especially if you enjoy this video. This is one of my favorite videos to do with you guys. We're going to show you how to beat and read every defense pre-snap. Now, post-snap is a whole nother beast. If we can get let's say 8,000 views and 100 likes on this video, I'll make another video showing you how to read post-snap defenses as well. But today we're just going over pre-snap alignments and adjustments that you can kind of read to make sure you kind of have an idea of what the defense is doing before you actually snap the ball. So here we are, we're in practice mode. I'm gonna go over basically different formations and different ways to beat those formations and where the actual holes are in each defensive play, okay? So there's 3 or 4 basic defenses that you need to be aware of. It's the cover 2, the cover 3, cover 4, and some variations of a cover 3. So like a cloud or like a cover 6, which is cover 2 on one side and then a cover 3 on the back side. We're gonna go over a basic cover 2 and then I'm gonna tell you where the holes are as well as where to throw the ball or what to expect, all right? So here we go. Basic cover 2, super simple to read, basic defense. You're gonna first read outside in. Especially in Madden, it's a little different in real football, but for Madden, you can definitely read outside in. And what I mean by that is you want to kind of read your corners and safeties down to your linebackers, okay? So I'm reading my corners right now, and I can see that my corners are sitting at 5 yards. They're almost perfectly at 5 yards. They're right on that 5-yard line right there, and their shoulders are turned towards my receivers. Now they actually also have an outside shade. The gist of cover 2 is that as a corner, I want to force the receiver back inside, meaning I can't give them the outside leverage to the sideline. Why can I do that? Because if I give them outside, I'm beat. All the coverage in cover 2 is inside of the corners. The linebackers are inside and the safeties are coming from inside out. So if I actually give up the outside as a corner at cover 2, it's going to be a really quick pass over my shoulder in between me and the safeties, which is where one of the holes are in cover 2. So again, I'm just going to go ahead and run this play and I'm going to show you basically where the holes are in cover 2. Again, the way I know that's cover 2 is look at my corners. They're sitting outside of my receivers, 5 yards out, and I have 2 deep safeties, okay? So I'm automatically reading cover 2 here, and let's go ahead and watch this play develop and show you how do we beat this particular play. So again, cover 2 is really simple. Look at this. If we were to draw a line between this receiver here and that corner, you can tell just looking right outside, you see how that corner is outside leverage on him. Again, we don't want to give up out here because that's a long way for this safety to go. So you can see that this guy has outside leverage on that corner. So we go ahead. Now, if we do the same thing over here, we can also see if we just look straight down. Well, that's a little creepy. We don't want to look at Mike Evans' butt. Let's just look over on this side like this. We can see that that corner has outside leverage on Mike Evans because he's protecting inside. The gist of cover 2 as a corner, when I play corner, I wanted to make sure I had outside leverage so I can jam that receiver back in. Don't give up that sideline. So that's what this corner is doing here. A lot of people say Madden isn't like real football. Well, this is a real football alignment. As much as you probably hate to hear it, it actually is a real football alignment. Again, all my coverage you can see is inside, right? So look at all those people inside that corner. That's where we want to jam our receiver to. That's why that corner has outside leverage. So now as this play naturally progresses, what we're going to do is get a bird's eye view of the entire defense. So we're going to get a bird's eye view, which is how we watch film. We watch film normally at like this angle here where we can see everything. So when we're watching film in the film room, this is kind of the angle that we see. That way we can see everybody's alignments, everybody's movements, everything. So we're watching like real college kind of film right now. So as we watch, this is how we pretty much watch. We want to look at first steps. You'll see that those corners, what's the first thing they do? They actually turn outside and they're trying to keep that outside leverage on this receiver here, outside leverage on that receiver here. And the first things our safeties do is look, they go from inside out. So Now let's stop the film right here. The holes in cover 2 are going to be here. This is a big hole here between these two safeties. Why? Because these two safeties are going to work outside in. This Mike backer right here is going to stop probably about 5 to 10 yards about from where he started. The corners are going to do about the same thing. So the holes in cover 3 are going to be in between the corners and the safety. So here, look at that, all that space that we have out here. This is the space I was telling you about when we don't want to give up outside leverage, right? So you have space here, here, and here again. This is where you beat cover 2. So how do we get those spaces to become open? Well, we know that cover 2, this corner has the flats. So if anyone is in his flat, he has to come down and take that. So that's what you want to do in cover 2. You want to attack in between the safeties and you want to attack outside of the corners. So let's go ahead and move the ball backwards. I'm going to put this ball on this left hash and we're going to attack cover 2. So when I first come out, I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to wide view. I see my corners are at 5. They're outside leverage. I got 2 deep safeties and they're playing over the top. Okay, I'm reading cover 2 here. Now it could absolutely not be cover 2, but that's what at least I'm reading. So I'm going to set my offense up to beat cover 2. So here we go. I'm just going to run a streak because Gronkowski is going to hold this backer here and it should hold my safety a little bit because he has to honor that streak. I'm going to run an out route by Godwin because he should pull that corner down, and let's see what happens. So we do get that corner coming down and we get Mike Evans right over the top. Where was that hole at in cover 2? Exactly where I said it would be. Let's look. So it's very simple. We know it's cover 2. We know that this safety is responsible for this deep half of the field. And we know this backer is going to stop, what I say, about 5 to 10 yards from where he initially started at. So look at that, 5 to 10 yards, boom, he stops. He stops right there. He doesn't even see, I mean, he sees him, but he lets him go. So I actually have 2 people open. I have Gronkowski open right here in this hole in cover 2, but I also have Mike Evans open. And why is that? Because this out route pretty much pulled down this corner because he has flats. Boom, it opens up this hole right here. We hit Mike Evans right down the sideline. Now there's a ton of variations of cover 2. You can play soft, you can play a cloud. It's a ton of different ways to beat cover 2. But in this video, I just want to show you how to read it. No matter what you play, whether it's a soft squat, whether it's cloud, whether it's a hard flat, this is going to be your base alignment unless you change it. And that's a whole different video. Now the next place to attack cover 2 is right in between those backers. As you'll see right there, we get in between those safeties with that post route. Let's run it one more time. So if I really wanted to sit someone down in front of the backers just to pull them down a little bit, I can run something like this and I should get Brown coming right open, right in the middle, right there. Oh, we almost had it, but that is basically what you want to do. You want to try to pull those middle linebackers down to hit in between those backers because that's the second biggest hole in cover 2, right? Right in between those backers, right there, boom. Cover 2 is extremely easy to beat. Now it gets a little bit tricky when people are starting to mix man and they start to control those holes. And let's talk a little bit about cover 2, Tampa 2, okay? So we're gonna select Tampa 2, which is Y here. And Tampa 2 is a little bit different. We're just gonna allow these routes to progress the way that we had them before. And I'm gonna show you the difference between Tampa 2 and our regular cover 2. So let's just go ahead and let this run. So Tampa 2 was actually made famous by the Bucks because they played what they called a Tampa 2. What happens is we all know that the hole in cover 2 is right here, right? We know there's one here, there's another one here, there's another one here. Other than that, cover 2 is actually a really good coverage. So what the Tampa Bay Bucks did was instead of this middle linebacker going back to his 5-yard drop and stopping there, or his 5-10-yard drop and stopping there, he gets deep as the deepest person to pretty much control. You see how he's over top both these routes to control the space in this hole. So basically this Tampa 2, this middle linebacker is gonna run with the middle of the field. That's basically the only difference in Tampa 2. And the corners play a little bit softer and then they come up and make plays on short throws. So let's run it one more time. All right. Now let's look at our corners and our backers, which are the key for Tampa 2. If we look at our corner here, we run that same out combination. We get a jam. You see how he wants to jam him inside? That's what you want to do in cover 2. We get that nice jam. We don't give up the outside. We jam him back into this defender here, which is what you want to see in cover 2, not giving up the sideline. But then this defender right here in Tampa 2, he's going to continue to sink. You see how he continues to sink back, and even though he has this out route coming to him, this is how you run a true Tampa 2. Instead of him jumping this route like we saw before and giving up this fast fade here, he actually sinks slightly, and then once he clears that little angle or that little space there, he then comes down and bites on this out route. Now, if this was a regular cover 2, as soon as this cut was made here, this guy would have just came and took him, which would have left Mike Evans wide open. But in Tampa 2, everyone sinks just a little further back. Now let's look at our middle linebacker. With our middle linebacker, you'll see that he's actually continuing. Look at him. He continues to go deeper and deeper and deeper. He actually has a little bit deeper of a drop than he normally would right here. You see how he's a little bit deeper than everyone else. And he actually, in a real Tampa 2, probably would have carried this guy a little bit further down, mainly because there's no one underneath for him to cover. He probably would have continued to sink here to make that a harder throw for the quarterback. That is the only real difference between Tampa 2, is that this middle linebacker is going to get a little bit further back, and those corners are going to play a little bit softer on those curl or underneath routes. Now let's talk about a favorite, which is cover 3. Everyone loves to run cover 3, and I'm going to tell you how to destroy and demolish cover 3. Let's give me a cover 3 look here. So the basic look for cover 3 is normally like a cover 3 sky. You'll see it a lot in most of your nickel and dime formations. Cover 3 is super simple to read. Again, we're going to start with those corners first. We're going to look at our corners and see where they are actually aligned at, okay? So instead of being at that 5 yards, I see that my corners are now at about 7 yards, which is how they taught us to play in college. We play cover 3 normally at anywhere between a 7 and 9 yard range, depending on down and distance. So our starting position most of the time was at about 7 yards. Now we may start at 5 to give a cover 2 look and then creep back to 7 to get our start, but mostly 7 yards is about where we played with cover 3. Now the next biggest thing here to read is that my safeties are actually moved over towards the middle of the field. So you see how my free safety is right in the middle of the field. That's because he has middle of the field coverage. Our 2 corners have deep thirds. So we have 3 people playing thirds, our free safety and our 2 corners. Now, the free safety that's actually walked down, you need to identify him because he is the guy who's going to give away cover 3. Instead of us having 2 safeties back there, we now have 1 safety back there. And this is, of course, if the person doesn't base a line or anything of that nature. Our corners tell the biggest story, 7 yards. Then our safeties tell the second story. I have 1 high safety, 1 safety down. Now, you may read this and think, man, but in my head, I'm not reading man because of how deep my free safety is and how my corners are playing. I'm reading zone here, mainly because if it was man, I feel like my free safety or another person. You see that guy on that left side right here. Let me actually identify him for you. This guy, nope. This guy right here who has the Mike backer over him, that's a corner. If that corner was on the other side guarding the receiver instead of that safety guarding the receiver, then I would have identified it as man. But since that corner is over there and that safety is down, I kind of can guess that this is actually a zone, because you always want your corners to match up on receivers and your safeties to match up on running backs and tight ends if you can. So I'm reading cover 3 here because I have a safety on a receiver and I have a corner backside. Especially even if it was man, I would expect my corner to be over and my safety. Like, it's just about personnel. Okay, so that is this third thing I'm going to read. I'm going to go from my corners to my safeties to my alignment, right? So I'm not reading man here because of alignment is telling me that it's cover 3. I have 1 high safety, 2 deep third corners, and 1 safety playing curl flats and another corner playing curl flats. Then at that point, you just need to identify who's rushing and then go ahead and start destroying cover 3. Cover 3 is super simple to beat. A lot of times you can just run like a curl flat combination or slant combination. You can run a lot of different things to beat cover 3. My favorite is the post slant combination. It looks something like this, and then just have somebody underneath. So I like to run things a little bit like this. And basically what I'm doing is forcing the defense to decide who they want to pick up. Now, cover 3 has a lot of different holes in it. Let's look at them really quick. For the most part, your flats are going to be open unless somebody's playing hard flats on you. A lot of times people, especially in Madden 20, will take one of these extra guys and play flats with him. So instead of rushing him, you'll probably go hard flats. But that gives you a little bit more time to throw. So normally cover 3 is going to be in between these 2 backers here, real shallow. So you'll see this space starts to open up in cover 3 here, and then in your flats. So I'm gonna run this slant underneath cover 3 to force these backers to decide, do I want to come up and bite on him, or do I want to make sure I get depth and cover this guy that's coming across the middle? You'll see that because this safety has to stay deep and be deep as the deepest, we give up, well, the defense gives up this nice little hole here in cover 3. And again, if you don't want to throw that pass, normally the flats are wide open in cover 3 as well because you have purple routes. Now, that is the gist of how I beat cover 3. If you guys want more cover 3 beaters, we have a video for that. It's right there. Make sure you go click on that and check that one out. I don't want to go over too many beaters in this. I just want to tell you how to read these coverages, all right? So again, let's look at our corner alignment, and let's just go ahead and start quick play. We'll just get down really quick. So let's look and talk about alignment. Remember, we said that this is actually a cornerback here, right? This corner should be over here if it was man. Even though it looks like it may be man coverage, look how far off these guys are. Man, we wouldn't really be that far off. He would probably be something a little bit closer here, or he would be a little bit closer as well. And again, a lot of times in zone coverages, your alignment is always outside as a defender. Why is your alignment outside as a defender? Because zone, you're actually taught to turn back in towards the quarterback so you can see the ball being thrown. Now, this guy here does something funky. He just starts to turn and run. I don't really know what Madden programmed him to do there, but your actual turn is supposed to be something like this corner over here. You see how he turns his shoulders back in towards the quarterback? That is how you play zone coverage. Zone coverage is made to get interceptions because all the defenders should be looking at the receiver with one eye and then the quarterback with the other. Now, I know that sounds weird. It sounds like you're cross-eyed, but I promise you, you're not. You're basically trying to keep the receiver and the quarterback in your peripheral so you know where the ball is thrown so you can make cuts. So if you're ever turning around like this guy over here who has no idea what's going on in this play, you are absolutely wrong in zone coverage. You want to make sure that you keep your leverage outside so you can see the receiver to the quarterback. So basically, I'm able to stay outside of the receiver so I can see him through to the quarterback. And that's how you're taught to play zone coverage at pretty much any level as a defensive back. Okay, so again, you see how he turns. He has his eye, actually, that's pretty cool. I didn't know Madden did that. He actually has his eye on the receiver, which is pretty cool, but he can also see the quarterback here. So if we look, I should be able to have my shoulders turned, see the receiver and see the quarterback. This is another read, like a pre-snap read that you can make to know that it is not man. You see how he turns? This is a zone turn. So you know that this guy is actually playing a zone. And if he's turning like this, it's more likely a quarters or a cover 3. But that's a post-snap read, and we're not talking too much about those. So the next thing that you can read, right, is basically look at this guy here. He also has outside coverage. And you see how he kind of just drifts over like that. We know that that's not man, mainly because he's making a zone drop there. Again, so our tell for cover 3 is that my corner is sitting outside. He's sitting at 7 yards. I have one high safety, and I have both a defensive back on both sides of the formation, right? So it's a real balanced formation, a DB over here and a DB over here. Even though I have 3 receivers, so 2 receivers and a tight end, this corner would have came over and taken this guy, and the safety would have taken this guy, and a backer would have taken my running back if it wasn't cover 3. If it was man, that's what the alignment would be. So immediately I see those 7-yard corners. I see the safeties I see DBs on both sides of the field. I see one high safety. Immediately you should say cover 3. So this is the first step of becoming a great Madden player. It's just being able to see what the computer is actually doing before you actually press the snap button. Now, this is all pre-snap reads. I'm going to teach you guys how to read post-snap reads if we hit those numbers on this video. Again, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We'll definitely make more videos like this in the future. It's been your boy DJ Chef. It's been love. It's always love, and we out of here. Peace.